So let's see. Round three, Jambalaya Jamboree. I think I might have used that pun already, but oh well. Let's see. So that was the end of round two right there. Coming back, doing this one a little bit later in the afternoon. Walking right into an ad because YouTube is reading me too hard. And it's only. Oh my gosh. Wait, where is it? Oh shoot, did I miss it? Is it here? So animated, forgot it's right there. Ah! Ah! This guy that's usually super chill or very low key. Bonk. That was one of the exchanges we talked about a bit before, right? And we were kind of debating whether or not this shot land. That's what I'm saying. It doesn't quite land because it looks like it deflects down off Danny's chiseled torso here. And again, that like follow up body shot after Loma eats this monster body shot from Devin Haney. This after he eats that monster shot, this follow up shot that he throws doesn't quite really land. So anywho, round three. Let's see. Again, right off the bat, you see again this sort of interplay of the space that we were talking about before, where Loma's trying to get in but not too close in, and now you see him kind of almost doing back to Devin Haney, a little bit of what Devin Haney likes to do to other people, or was doing to Loma, where Loma shoots this jab, it gets over Devin Haney's head, but then almost like pulls it back a bit to pin that hand, Devin Haney's front hand, and to kind of stick his hand in Devin Haney's head to try to control Devin Haney's head when he dips down like that. Instead of, like we were talking about before, instead of getting so close that his shoulder is like in line with Devin Haney's shoulder, and then he just punches over his back. And just look something else interesting here that I kind of want to toy with or like look at, which is, let's see. All right, there's a little pump step that we talked about before. No reactions. Let's see. Then he's, well, yeah, no, he doesn't do a feint there, but he's actually just trying to step in. Right, so there's the pump step we were talking about. And then here, aping something from Teofimo, like I kind of talk about in the Teofimo film study, right? High guard, distract people with hand movement, move your back foot. As soon as that back foot lands, throws out his jab. Doesn't quite work. Devin Haney slips under it, good reflexes. But then, right, comes back up. Again, look at the feet. Again, the interesting thing here. It's kind of funny, actually. Both guys kind of doing what the other one has been doing to them. Devin Haney this time going under the jab, slipping outside. Loma controlling the hand. And again, moving away because he doesn't want to eat a body shot, right? Because that's what Devin Haney, every single time Devin Haney has done this so far, has been a monster shot coming right behind it, which is why Loma's like, fuck, I'm out, bye. And again, right, like as soon as Devin Haney comes up on the line with him, see this little pop motion of his hand, right, that right there, trying to block any potential jab coming out. He thinks one's about to come there, but it doesn't. Loma does his classic fake disengage, re-engage, and then does some magic with his feet before he comes back in. Interestingly, you see Devin kind of tentative here, avoiding throwing the shot, because probably maybe because it's the beginning of the round, they're still kind of getting back into feeling each other out. Let's see. See Devin trying to time Loma here when he comes back up. We're trying to create his own timing, it looks like. Devin, it's an interesting thing. It's almost like Devin doing back to Loma what Loma just did to him like 2 seconds ago. Except in this case, it's interesting because it's like Devin breaking his own rhythm to throw this shot, which is kind of funny, right? Like, look at the rhythm of how he steps. Boop, 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 boop. Right? That little, like, did you see it moment? That, like, bachata timing, like we talked about before, that weird little, like, half beat. When he takes these steps of big, small bam. Right? He takes these, like, 4 big steps. And then this last small step right here. Bam! And breaks up his own timing. Ironically, though, right? Again, good reflexes with both guys. Why they're pro fighters. Loma kind of like reading the timing of Devin's steps. And again, right? Nothing. Well, I haven't said this yet, but a saying I'm fond of: nothing's faster than the speed of thought, right? Like speed doesn't matter if you're predictable because the human mind is faster. So Loma, already like 6 steps ahead, is waiting for a jab here, which is why he's like, by the time he's on the line here, way ahead of Devin, is already prepared for a jab to come, which is why it's really easy for him to just kind of slip this and then back up. Devin Haney goes super aggressively, right? Trying to take that space back as soon as he gets control of it. Immediately running forward. Let's just take a giant fucking step forward. Interestingly, Devin like much more comfortable here, I guess, has recognized or maybe learned to recognize when Loma's not threatening him, right? Which is why he's just fucking standing here flat-footed, straight up and down, as Loma is standing within punching range. Again, right, like we talked about both earlier in this analysis and in the Teofimo fight, although I was thinking earlier in this analysis, right, the guys dipping at the same time. Again, like we talked about in the last study, Devin trying to level change before Loma, and then Loma dipping down to like push him out of it. In this case, though, I think it might just be both guys. It's kind of hard to tell actually if that's a feint or both guys trying to avoid a jab and slip down. I think it's a little bit of both. And again, you can see Devin Haney looking like he's about to set go for that lunging body shot like we've seen before, right off that lead, the back of that lead hand control. And interestingly here too, there's something funny too. There's something in I think the second round film study I talked about where I couldn't figure out what it was that Loma was doing when he came forward, and then I talked about it incidentally at the very end. Excuse me, sorry. At the very end, where I was like, what is he doing that he's doing that's different? And I was like, oh, it's that his weight's over his front foot, and it wasn't that. It was that he doesn't change his head slot at all. He would stay up like this as he moved forward. Right? And then this time, you can see when he doesn't do that, his head changes levels a little bit, immediately gets a reaction from Devin Haney, right? Devin Haney's looking for that, right? Whereas conversely, when his head doesn't really like dip a whole lot like that, you can see here, let's say, or here, when he just kind of like slips but his head doesn't drop at all, Devin doesn't react to this because he doesn't think it's threatening, right? Which is why, like we talked about in the round 2 study, why that shot that Loma walked Devin Haney into, where he just kind of like backed up and didn't really almost like set his weight at all, or he didn't drop his head down at all, but he like popped his left foot and threw a straight left hand. That worked because he didn't set his weight at all. He didn't change his head slot down at all, like he does right here, which is why Devin dips, right? Or right there, which is why Devin reacts. This is interesting too, actually. If you watch Loma's feet, like we talked about before, right? This little like pop set that you'll do to get ready for whatever it is that your opponent is about to do. Looks like that happens a little bit like after, right here, boom, right? See how his feet kind of like stop immediately in place and then come back down, like he's ready for Devin Haney coming in. I wonder if he was actually kind of expecting to kind of like probe here and for Devin to move forward and then be ready to counter. And then when Devin doesn't do anything, you can see his back foot slide out again to get ready. And then again, right, like aggressively feinting to try to take back control of space, not doing anything too risky, taking it slow. Again, the big level change, right? Trying to get the reaction out of Haney. This time, Devin Haney not giving anything away. Interesting, right? Adapting to before, maybe realizing he's getting probed here and giving too much away. Doesn't do a whole lot. It's almost kind of funny, too, when you pause like this. You can kind of see the thought process of both guys, right? So, like, he waits for Loma to go and then doesn't do anything and then is like, all right, well, let's just dip here. Because, right, we talked, I think, a bit before about Devin trying to get down low, try to push Loma back. And then, interestingly, right, you see the guys, again, like, exchanging feints and probes here, right? You see the heavy set, no reaction. Big level change low, slip outside. Devin's like, I don't like that, and backs up. Interestingly enough, too, right? We talked about before, in the last round, right? Like Loma trying to tighten Devin's stance up by pushing, getting him to get his feet closer together. You can see when Devin Haney walks out now. Oh, excuse me, sorry, I'm a bit tired. Feet. This is a poor example because the dude's not actually trying to stand and punch right here, but feet a lot closer together, right? I mean, it does kind of stand to illustrate the example because Devin's feet were never this close together remotely. In the last round, his feet were always very far apart, and then we'd take like very small steps, or mostly, or like on occasion he'd be doing that, right? Whereas now, right, when he's on line of scrimmage, like ready to punch, that's like the widest his feet would get from here to like here, and now they're normally like this far apart, right? So his stance is a lot tighter and a lot closer, which, like we talked about before, is good for Loma because he doesn't have this buffer here, right? Look at his head. His head's almost like right fucking over his knee, right? Just barely, not over his front foot. Which I think is the other reason why Devin's really cautious here, because he knows he doesn't really have that much of a buffer now. And again, interesting you see Devin here do kind of the same thing twice, right? He like drop jabs, both times. Drop, jab, and then immediately moves forward, right? As soon as Loma backs up. And it's funny because it almost looks like his brain is like, oh, I should drop jab again, and then it's like, wait, I can't do that because I just did that twice. Let me do something else. And then he does this instead. But to get back to what I was saying before, right? You see these guys exchanging this like sequence of or layers of probes like we talked about, right? Both get on the line, low set. Both get on the line, Loma sets. Not super low, but just like heavy sets. Devin takes a step forward. Loma takes a big feint, or big like pep step, getting ready to attack. Then he sees Devin kind of like probe back, not give ground, right, like we talked about. And then Loma slip outside, which pushes Devin off the line, which is interesting here. And then he takes advantage of the space that he gets, right, to probe, kind of like we talked about, right, like Loma continually trying to push the space, right? As soon as he slips outside, that back foot catches up. This back foot, you'll see it catch up right here. Boom. And then as soon as he gets that outside angle that he wants, double jab forward. And again, right, like this is an interesting and a really great foot position that he picks here, like we kind of talked about before, right? Because if you look where his foot lands, Devin Haney's foot goes back a bit, but this would be a little bit past Devin Haney's foot, right? Which, like we talked about at the round 2, is like the Goldilocks zone for him. It's where he can hit Devin, but Devin can't just roll under his shots, and he has a little bit of give, a little bit of space here where he can actually like back up to dodge any counters from Devin. So you can tell he's, but in this case, it's also ends up being a really good way to probe, right? Or in this case, maybe just gets lucky and has it work out such that he goes to get around Devin, and even though Devin, he's not so overly committed, right, that he's going to get hit with anything, right? So it works out as a probe, too, in addition to also actually being just the right distance for him to attack if Devin didn't move here, right? And then because he sees Devin backing up, he reacts and just kind of pops his foot and takes a step back. Again, you can see Devin experimenting with this dip down, right? That he's trying to do now, I think. But he keeps getting like interrupted as he's about to do it. He's like, wait, let me finish my thought. Right, comes back, level changes down, rolls up. I think that's a body jab there, which is interesting because we haven't really seen Devin throw a whole lot of body jabs this like whole fight. Seen throw a lot of body punches, not a lot of body jabs. Again, right? Probing, trying to see. It's interesting because, like, how do I put it? I don't feel like he's probing here to get a reaction to see what Loma's going to do, although maybe it is, because he kind of already knows, I feel like at this point. Loma just backs up. He doesn't do anything when he backs up. He just backs up to get away from you, right? So he's not going to learn anything new by doing this, which is why I think that this isn't necessarily so much of a probe as much as it just is him trying to do something to get Loma to back off, right? That he doesn't like that Loma's probing so much, which is why he takes this big, heavy roll right here to just kind of push Loma off of his rhythm, off his comfort zone, out of the way, right? And then again, you see Loma, right? Like rush it. Like we talked about that like Wing Chun concept. Rush it, loss of contact. As soon as your contact with your opponent breaks, you get right back on top of him. As soon as Devin Haney pushes him out of his range, right back in. He's right back on top of him. Again, playing with that range, like we talked about. We're standing right at the edge of his range, trying to wear Devin Haney down. Interestingly, I wonder if he'll do something with this too, right? Because he keeps slipping outside. No real reaction from Devin Haney, right? Probes. Devin Haney moves. Comes back high jab. Slip outside. No reaction from Devin Haney. I'm wondering if he's going to throw a straight left hand now because of that. Let's see. Again, slip outside. Still no reaction from Devin Haney. See, now this is funny because this is an interesting example of... I wonder if he's doing it for a different reason. If he's expecting a punch here, or if he's trying to get Devin, right, like we talked about Teofimo, he's trying to get a rise out of Teofimo. He's trying to get Devin Haney to do something. He's just trying to say, like, you know, with that right hand motion that he always does, trying to, like, get you to associate him doing that with something, and he's, like, really trying to see, like, I think here, this one, right, you can tell because the fast twitch motion, and maybe is him kind of expecting a jab, but none happens. That right there, that little move, that's a slip to dodge a punch, right? Which is kind of funny. And then here, I think this is just him trying to see, like, okay, what are you going to do when I slip? What are you going to do now at this point in the fight? When I slip outside, what are you going to do? Devin Haney says, I'm going to jab at you. Take a step in, right? Again, kind of talk about like broken rhythm. That there is, right? You can see how this rhythm is really cool. People talk about how rap and boxing are kind of intertwined because they both have this like fascination with rhythm, right? If you look at the rhythm of Loma's dip here, right? Snap, then like kind of a slow back, then and then he stays and hesitates in this like position a little bit longer before he comes back, right? So the first one, he doesn't hesitate. He moves like right away, right? He comes right back. But the next time he goes to the spot, he stays there. And that kind of throws off Devin's rhythm. That's why you can see that jab there misses, right? And then he does it slower. And that kind of like, I think, throws off Devin's timing. That's why he misses, which is interesting. Because you can see before, there's also something else interesting too here. I suspect that Loma's also moving his feet. That's why that jab misses to Loma's right, because he's moving while he does that, right? Whereas before he just snaps, comes right back up. Almost, right? Whereas, let's see. Does he move his feet here? Snap. Oh, wait, there we go. Right, yeah, there. He snaps, doesn't move. Here, deep move. Up. And then again, right? It's funny because he doesn't actually move his foot, but he times it too, right? Like Loma talks about moving to his music. You see that his foot sets right there, right before he comes back on the line, because he knows I need to be ready for when this kid jabs him, I'm going to come back up. And then as soon as he does that, and Devin jabs at him, his foot's pushing off the ground to back up to give him space to get out of the way of that jab. So again, the master of footwork. And again, you see this almost like, I don't want to say a different look because it's like a similar technique to what he's been doing. And he has done this before, but right now we talk about this interesting little like softer motion of a small little head dip here, which is definitely intentional, right? And he's trying to get a reaction from Devin Haney or see what Devin Haney is going to do when I do this simple little boot. And interestingly, like he's kind of been reading so far in the round, Devin Haney hasn't done a whole lot, reads this semi-correctly as no real reaction. It's safe to proceed, right? And again, right, like we talked about before, that right jab coming across. This is kind of interesting because this is like a weird jab. Like, right, like if you look at where it goes, you're kind of thinking, or at least I am, what the fuck is this supposed to do? Like, what the fuck are you aiming at? And I do think there's a point to it, right? Like we talked about in the first round, where he wanted to use that right jab to pin Devin in place, right? and like hold it across his chest to keep him upright so Devin Haney can't dip and roll under. I think that's actually what that does. And it also does something else, which is interesting. It's almost like he's throwing this jab at almost like where he expects Devin's head to be. Right? Like we talked about in the last round, Devin Haney would like dip back on his front foot and kind of like circle down and come back up. That's kind of what this jab is meant to hit. Almost. Or a small like little duck dip forward, like Devin liked to do a lot. Right? So again, you can kind of see now Loma's throwing his shots at where he like expects Devin to be based on how Devin was moving in the last round. That he throws it like down here. Plus, it's also maybe a little bit of him getting blocked, but I don't really think so. I don't think it's just that, because if it was, his hand would not be like on a 90-degree angle here. It wouldn't be going like straight out from his body this way. It would be going like this way and getting parried down, but his fist would still be pointing like this way, right, like towards Devin. But here it's like completely pointing away from him, which makes me suspect that this is him trying to hit Devin Haney's head movement. Or it could be him jabbing at the body, who knows. But again, right, Devin Haney take advantage of that shield, that prevent defense. Again, Loma finding his range like we talked about, getting right in the Goldilocks zone, just close enough to punch, but not so deep. And also, boom shakalaka, timing that little step back that Devin did at the beginning of the round, right? Like we talked about how Loma moved forward with a jab and then didn't quite get to Haney when he set the first time because Devin Haney backed up. Now he reads correctly or steps in a way so that, he's like, you're going to take this little hop step back. Now I'm going to take this little hop step too, right? And then that puts him like right in range to hit Devin here. And right in the Goldilocks zone to double jab, right? Single jab. And almost, interestingly enough, here's something else that's kind of cool, right? Like building on what we talked about before with Loma experimenting with this like high stance, right? And then coming over the top. Still reading correctly, right? That even though Devin's not like going down, coming back up, that there's a timing here that's worked, which is the second beat, right? That he throws this first shot, gets Devin Haney to parry it, and then comes over the top with his jab after. And he's just not level changing now so that Devin can't like read that he's trying to as easily. Devin can't read as easily that Loma's trying to time coming over top of that hand, over top of Devin's front hand. Right? And interestingly, gets pretty deep and kind of like swipes this jab, but intentionally, right, is kind of coming pretty deep here. Whoop, so he gets right past that counter. So interestingly, right, the mix-up, instead of doing what he was doing before, where he would come in just enough and then back up so the counter would go in front of him. Now he's like over-penetrating so hard that the counter just goes right past him. And that's kind of one of the other ways we'll see Loma use like this mix-up to get past that counter. Again, right, coming back to the line, but always aware. Hand coming up and still ready to slip. No reaction from Devin. Except to jab at Loma when he comes back up after that, which is kind of funny. So again, right, like, so far it looks like the idea, or the good idea for Loma is, well, just don't level change down, because everything that he's doing is a reaction to that. Just come straight in. So the it's so bad, it's good idea. Right? Again, level change, comes back up, immediate slip, because he's waiting for that counter, nothing comes, but now the pressure comes, right? So you can see Devin trying to move off that timing. Again, like, tentatively keeping this hand here to try to, like, 1-2, fake jab, pin his hand as he steps over. Looking to, again, work around to throw that body shot. I think if Loma hadn't moved there, that's what you'd see next. Pin, body shot. Nothing quite happens, though, because Loma's still kind of moving a bit. Slip outside. Again, right, as soon as he does this take step back, he's wary of that right hand coming around. Again, right, contrary to what we see before, right, much smaller, tighter steps from Devin. Tighter stance now as he comes forward. And interestingly, I think Devin maybe trying to read, like, because you keep taking these slow, small steps, maybe if I just, like, yeet myself at you, I can almost catch you with his right hand. It looks like he maybe does, kind of does right here. But both guys still staying very alert, so it doesn't quite work. And again, right, you can see with the way that Loma's feet move or set here, that even though it looks like he's kind of stepping to range and he's not really like doing anything, right, he's ready for whatever Devin's going to do next. That foot's like definitely ready to move. It's actually kind of funny. I can almost tell Loma was going to attack there just from looking at his feet. As soon as he comes right, the fake, like we talked about 80 billion times over and over and over, the fake disengage, re-engage. Fake disengage, big long steps. Steps right back so close he's almost on Devin Haney's foot. He's already basically almost in range here. Now he's just kind of waiting to see, like, probing to see, does Devin realize that I'm on top of his ass right now? So his left foot comes across. Now he's if Devin doesn't do anything, he's in range to attack, right? And that's why he sees, like, Devin doesn't really step a whole lot here and doesn't really react, which is why this foot comes down right after this foot comes down. And he goes to jump right in all over Devin. Ba-boom. Just like we talked about, right? Dialing the shots in, speeding it up, realizing, oh, when I throw in the third shot, like we talked about in the second one, when they had these exchanges on the inside, when I throw that third shot, I'm punching with Devin, and then Devin would throw this, like, big shot on the outside to, like, sweep across and deflect or knock my arm down or whatever, or almost, like, obliterate my face with the left hand. So he's like, I don't want to throw on the third beat. I'm going to throw on the second beat this time. So he throws, or I guess he does throw on the third beat, but he speeds it up so that this shot gets in faster than before, right? That the first two shots are almost like throwaway punches, and the third one, this shot right here, that's the one that's meant to hit. And interestingly, you can tell it kind of beats Devin's shield, right? His shield doesn't get up there in time. Or it's kind of interesting. I kind of want to look at this and stare at this and try to figure out why that didn't work or why that didn't happen for Devin this time. Maybe he just didn't do it. I think because he just didn't realize Loma was getting the footwork position advantage here, which is why Devin wasn't really ready to shield. So he kind of you can see he kind of throws his hand up, but it's almost really too late because Loma's first hand's already gotten in, and like again jabbed, falling down, and like pinned this hand in place, so that third shot can come right over the top. That third right hand like swivel jab, lead right cross, boom boom, can come across the body here. But you can see, right, like what we were talking about before, that quick like right hand pop to the body that Devin's been throwing, that like shovel uppercut. Interestingly enough too, let's see here, he's trying to time Loma when he steps forward, but interestingly enough, right, there were these small exchanges in the end of the last round where you'd see Loma do this little, like, when he would get close, step forward with his back foot. Now he's not doing that, right? Which is, again, like, partly mitigating. I mean, not mitigating in the sense that it's negating it, but it's making it hit less hard. Now he's not throwing himself into this uppercut. He's still getting hit with it, right? But he's not willfully like taking an extra step right into it like he was before. Again, Devin trying to control Loma's weight transition here, prevent him from shifting with this left hand here, to prevent him shifting and coming forward to hit him with this left hand. And just kind of, I think, realizing after he gets his one shot in to control and get out, which again is smart from him. It's kind of hard to tell here. I'm trying to see the range or the distance between them to figure out why this shot misses, this left hand from Loma. I think just because Devin backed up a little quick and he wasn't expecting it. Again, that sort of interestingly gets a pause out of Loma, this jab here, because that's one of the first few times Devin Haney's tried to control him when he's in this like high neutral stance, albeit with hands like wide apart, which is a different look than what he usually gives him. Which maybe is partly why he brings his gloves close together here, I think. Again, right? Like we kind of talked about earlier in the fight, Loma trying to... Oh, actually, it's funny because the camera change fucks it up, but we'll see if we can dial it in. He slips out, stays there, and then slips again to the outside from that like already slipped position to see if he can get past Devin. And that's something he was trying to do earlier. And you can see he's trying to do it again here, and the camera change happens right after he slips the first time, right there, boom, and then he tries to slip again right there, right? And he almost gets past Devin, but again sees that Devin's kind of like ready, but has about arm's length reach, which is good for Devin and not good for Loma, which is why he backs off here. Because Loma knows if I try to move forward, I'm out of range right there. He's like pinned my hand in my head. If I try to move in, Devin's going to throw that body shot like he just did. And again, you see him kind of probing, just like at the beginning of the round, trying to see, okay, now when I this time doesn't head slot change at all, but just kind of pops or throws his hands up, which is really funny. Woo! Raise the roof. Here again, this little pop step to see like, okay, what are you going to do? And then throws that little almost like body jab, except not really, which is kind of funny. And I say not really because clearly he's not trying to hit him to the body, right? Like we see when Andre Ward or when Floyd Mayweather throw that body jab, they like come down, go in really far, spear you in the gut, and back up. That's not what he's trying to do here, right? Which is why I suspect, like I said, I think this is really just him trying to throw this first shot to get Devin Haney's hand in the way or to get that counter to come and then come in and pounce on him after. But Devin doesn't do anything, right? But still, the cool thing about this, again, right, like Loma figuring out exactly where to step, right? Steps so that even when Devin Haney backs up here, because now Loma's getting control of space, Devin Haney can't just run away, even though Devin has been doing that lately, right? The point is Devin doesn't have enough space behind him to do that. So that when Devin doesn't run or doesn't back up, he's in the perfect spot still. Or even though he backs up a little, he's still pretty much in the Goldilocks zone. He's still like right where he wants to be, right? Almost in range to hit Devin. And again, because Devin's still kind of like frozen, thinking about that feint, he misses this little step that Loma does right there. See if we can catch it again. Right there. Almost misses, I should say. Because he's ready for the shot and manages to duck it. Devin, what are you doing down there? There's no presents in my breadbasket. Loma leaning aggressively on his head. But also, right, like we talked about before, Loma rising, because I think it was at the end of the second round, very end of the second round, right? Had this moment where Devin like dropped down, then came up on Loma's right side, but didn't like dip down under him. And so Loma, one of the things Loma has stopped doing as much is like having his arm be this way, flat, parallel to the ground. So he's pushing Devin's head right down, right? Now his arms are more like up and down. So he's giving Devin the space to come up next to him. Or almost giving him the space to come up next to him, right? And see how now he is kind of pulling his head down with the glove and with his other right hand, which is what he wants, right? He wants to control Devin's head. But instead of putting his left forearm across Devin's neck and pushing down, he's pinning his elbow in. Partly because he doesn't want to get a body shot from Devin here. But also because it lets Devin's head come up here. And ironically enough, too, because Devin has been so used to Loma fucking leaning on his head, he's pushing up, right? Which lets Loma like take that push down away. So now Devin's head just comes right back up, right? And which gives him potentially an opportunity to throw punches off that timing and hit Devin when his head comes right back up. Now, ironically, you'll see what Devin's starting to do, what Devin be doing for this pretty much this whole fight, which annoys the fuck out of me. Doing what Devin Haney do, and he learned so well from Floyd. Hold the fuck out of him. Putting Loma in a headlock here. Lol. Can tell Loma frustrated. Did all that work to get in just for no results. Just because Devin Haney be holding. And again, you can see, right, little head slot change. And then waiting for Devin to take a step and then time him off of that. But I think maybe waits a little too long. Because if he'd thrown sooner, Devin would have been in range. If he threw right here, Devin would have been in range. But because he waits for him to step, he steps clean out of range, right? And then is able to throw this like right hand over the top, which Loma blocks. Again, both guys seeing each other's moves coming. Again, Devin's stance a bit wider now. Interestingly enough, Loma like slowing down his tempo rhythm a bit here. Again, right, trying to stay unpredictable. Using smaller, tighter motions now. Again, keeping his weight mostly high. Other than this deep level change, right? Boom. Slight little mini slip outside. Right hand up. Setting. Dropping to slip any potential jab, then moving back out. Again, right, experimenting with this little mini slip down inside. This right here. Which interestingly gets a deep level change out of Devin. And then again, we see them kind of returning to this old form. Really, Loma just throwing a whole bunch of moves at him and seeing what sticks. To be like, okay, what gets you to react? Deep level, nothing. Mini slip outside, nothing. Come back to center line, right? Experimenting with what he talked about before with, when I come back to center line like this, have you wanted to jab at me? Because Devin's tried to do that before. Nothing. Fake pump step, still nothing. Almost like interesting. So we come back to the line. Set, nothing. Mini slip down. Ooh, that gets a reaction. And then that's what he wants, right? Trying to time Devin when he comes back up. But just doesn't quite get the range right, so he can't come in. Again, also, because Devin takes a big fucking step right over his foot. Okay, wary of that right uppercut, which is why he's stopping his motion there. Again, we see Devin twice trying to throw this right hand. And that right hand, they're going upstairs instead of the body, which is interesting. Devin switching it up, trying to see, like, okay, can I get you to think body and throw upstairs? And I think that's maybe because he's thinking before when he does this shot here, this feint here, he sees this hand come down a bit. Even though it's not actually reaction to this feint from Devin, this hand coming down is just him jabbing, right? But still, worth noting, timing-wise, right? Like, at this point in time, after I do deep step down probe, your hand is here, which means I can potentially throw a shot off of this and hit you if it stays there, right? Which is why he does this deep step here and then throws that shot upstairs this time, trying to catch that hand being down. But this time Loma sees it from a mile away and just gets to it and blocks it. And then since that didn't work, he's like, damn, maybe I should just go back to the body. And Loma realizing, like, this is kind of a semi-reckless step from Devin. And so this time, when Devin does it, he's ready and catches him, right? Kind of realizing, like, I'll just stay right here, right? Again, Devin, big step over for the outside foot position. Whiffs, big step forward. And again, right, he did this earlier in the fight too, but Loma didn't do anything at that point in time. But this time gives him a little, tries to give him a little three-piece chicken McNugget deal. Be like, this one's free. No toy, though. Mostly unsuccessful. You can see most of those shots bounce off. But the right hand looks like it gets in the front. Right there. That little pop. The first shot of that combo, I should say. Even though it doesn't really have any steam on it. This right here. Boop. Doesn't really hit that hard at all, though. Ooh. And now again, you see Loma trying to do, right, going back to that well that we talked about in the second round, where he's trying to get Devin to walk this way, to Loma's left. So he walks right into this left hand, but this time just misses it. And then trying to get outside, right? I love this shit. Trying to throw a right cross at the same time as he like leaps forward. Doesn't quite get it. And then again, because his feet aren't really quite planted. And again, like we talked about at the beginning of the first round, right? Getting so far past Devin. Devin cannot throw a right uppercut here because Loma's just not there to be hit. He's so far past him, right? Which again is why he's opting for the push frame pivot out, like we talked about, to counter and swivel out of that motion. Again, Devin trying to experiment with that as like Loma's trying to dip, trying to time him, right? So that's that reaction. That's that double jabs in reaction to. Again, Loma trying that double slip outside that we talked about before. Slip, slip. Oh, the triple. Oh, baby, a triple. Shout out to that fucking Call of Duty 12-year-old meme. Oh, baby, a triple. Oh, that voice was probably fucking terrible. I'm sorry for putting you through that. But anyway, oh, baby, a triple slip, right? That he does, right? He does 1, 2, ooh, 3. And Devin's like, oh my god, not the triple slip. Holy triple slip, Batman. I wasn't expecting that. So he eats a left hand to the face and almost eats another left hand to the face here. But Loma is still, right? So you see kind of Loma still being very high, right? His feet are like fucking off the ground throwing these shots. And then Devin draws and like, oh, because you're up really high and you're not really planted, if I get really low, I can control you because my weight is on the ground and yours is not, and I can just push you right past me, whoop, like that, and then just swivel out. So again, right, both guys immediate. This is just actually a really good like immediate reaction, almost like not even really an adjustment, but like immediate reaction from Devin to try to compensate for how Lomachenko's approaching him in his stance, right? The Loma's approaching him really high with his weight not set, so now he knows like, oh, Loma can't do what he was doing before, where he either gets in a pushing match with me, or bumps into me and bounces off, or sets and then backs up a little bit. Now he's just like flying right past me. So he's like, okay, Matador, whoop, go right past me. Ooh. Again, Loma eating a body shot there, right? Immediately, because he does this little slip. Now Devin realized, well, I let you slip too many times before, so I'm going to not let you do that, or I'm going to try not to let you do that this time. Immediately throws that right hand to the body and holds. And then tries to throw this little sneaky right hook on the outside, and then tries to do it again, which is funny. Again, Devin letting Lomachenko get way too close here. Way closer than he should be. Again, right? Interestingly enough, Loma kind of taking inside-ish foot position here, but not quite able to get what he needs. Interestingly, he kind of just gets double parried by Devin here, which is funny. Like, Devin's one parry blocks the jab and the left hand all in one motion. And then he throws it again and blocks Loma from throwing a right swivel jab, right? Loma can't throw this swivel jab and turn the shoulder in and forward and come into Devin Haney with that punch because he uses his left hand to stiff arm Loma's shoulder right there, so he can't throw it. So again, all with the lead hand. Really good defense from Devin Haney. Right here, right? Boom. And then right there again, boom. The little push. And then a little check hook too, in case he kept coming. Smooth work, smooth moves from Mr. Haney. Lomachenko wisely realizing, hey, I'm getting a little too aggressive, I should stop. Before I eat that left hook that was coming, right? Again, right, setting up this little movement exchange that we kind of saw before where he just kind of like progressively feints Devin Haney into this corner and walks him into the corner and then lays into him. Be interesting. So I'll be interested to see what Devin Haney does right here to get out of that, or to see how this exchange plays out. It's like we talked about. That was a big moment for Loma before. Again, staying high. Interestingly, this time, somewhat hilariously, in the "it's so bad it's good" camp, just fucking throws his right hand down. You're not going to punch me in the face if I do this, right? Of course, because Devin Haney doesn't expect it, it works. Get some lead-ish hand movement out of Devin Haney. Again, has successfully just kind of feinted Devin Haney into this corner. And now Devin Haney has nowhere to run, which is good for Loma. Again, he's trying to bait out the counter. You can see it because he comes in but doesn't get anything out of Devin. Wonder if he's going to go in this time. No. Devin trying to, again, catch him when he comes back up. Ooh! Loma this time, right? Unlike before, like we talked about, because Devin's not doing that deep spear and dip, looking for that body shot. Loma's not giving away any ground. And then this time, right, he's just kind of probing over and over, waiting for him to throw. And then Devin Haney just tries to get on top of him and hold. And tries to do to Loma what Loma does to him. And then Loma's like, son, I am the OG head hold master. You thought I couldn't get out of this? Boom! Gives him a nice meaty left hook to the body. It's kind of funny, too, because you can see in the Ward-Kovalev either 1 or 2 fight, Kovalev tries to do the same thing to Ward. Puts his hand on his head and tries to hold him down, and Ward just rips a massive body shot to the body. So again, right, that's one of their the counters or adjustments. Ooh, and throws a big left hook right after, because he knows he lands. He's looking to come right back in and get more. Bang, bang. But again, that forearm from Devin, that prevent defense, even though he gets hit, boom, boom again. That left forearm, giving him a stiff arm right there. And then planting, circling out. But Loma knows because he just hit him. He's like, oh, I want more. Interestingly enough, continually trying to get that inside angle. I wonder if they talked about that in the corner in between rounds. Loma, like... Here, you can see based on how he's stepping, he's trying to corral Devin to this corner because he knows, based on what's happened before, if I just feint him enough and we just keep walking this way, I can walk him into this corner. That's exactly what he did, right? But then when he starts to attack, right, you see he's starting to try to move on the inside. And here, he only doesn't get inside because Devin actually moves his foot a little more this way, so Loma can't get inside. And again, realizing he can stay right there but not actually get hit still. He doesn't have to go full outside to slip that uppercut. He just kind of has to feel it coming. And then again here, right, when he steps to try to target Devin Haney, right, you can see this like, his toes drawn an imaginary line here, almost going to, like, around where Devin Haney's center line is going to be when he steps onto the slide to, like, engage. And you see, as soon as Devin Haney realigns it, what does he do? He wants to get back inside, right? As soon as Devin Haney realigns it, he wants to get back inside, right? So you can see now he's aggressively targeting that inside line, which is interesting. Like I said, I wonder if he talked about that in the corner. So that's something I'm going to try to think about this round, try to see, like, okay, what is it that he's trying to accomplish by doing this? What does it set up, this angle? And I wonder if what it actually does is it takes away a bit of this shield from Haney because he's farther away from this left hand. Right? He doesn't have as much leverage or as good leverage because now instead of being right here, right in front of it, he's a little bit more inside, right? And he has a little bit of a longer lever to work with because he can push on the edge of Haney's hand. And this gives him like a, right here, the edge of Haney's hand is a better lever than like the middle of Devin Haney's forearm, which is what he kept running into, right? A longer lever is a better lever, so to speak, right? For Loma. Because it gives him more leverage, right? Whereas Devin's like, I don't want you to have anything to mess around with or manipulate. I want to just shove my forearm into you and push you away from me. But now, because he's like right in line with Devin Haney's hand, he can kind of like use his lead hand to manipulate Devin Haney's lead hand like this and mess with Devin Haney's forearm and manipulate it a little bit before it comes out so he can't just shove right into him, which is kind of what you see him doing here. In addition to, you know, all the classical shit of him just pinning the hand in place and winning the lead hand battle, which is also what this does, right? But you can see now, because he's got this inside angle, all his weight is coming forward right into this hand, and that doesn't have enough support for Devin Haney to just strength advantage, push back, and shove Loma back like he was doing before when they were evenly lined up. So that's one of the other things this does, too. Helps him win that lead hand battle, right? And again, you see the... Oh, not quite. Him trying to adjust, but Devin Haney also adjusting, slipping even bigger and further down and under below the waist like he's not supposed to do. And holding. Oh, not holding. Now he's holding like he's not supposed to. Again, kind of annoyed that the referee doesn't warn him for holding here, but whatever. I'm a fanboy. I'm sorry. He does get a warning, though, for hitting Loma behind the head. This is the first of many. Well, actually, no, this one hits on the chin, so that's fair. But there's a bunch more later that are behind the head that the ref eventually warns him for. Interestingly enough here, you see this little quick pop from Devin. Pop step. Bam, right there. To readjust, because he realizes he does not want to get too far away from Loma here. He wants to be close, because he likes this angle right here. If he moves back here, he's actually too far away to punch with this right hand to the body. And that's what he's trying to do, which is why he takes a little small step in. That hit was behind the head from Loma, to be fair, which is why he warns him. I didn't realize that he does that, but there you go. I didn't realize the ref was going to warn him for that yet, but there you go. Again, right, Devin Haney reacting to the first of Loma's slips instead of waiting for him to do 3 slips, which is why the first slip outside here. Again, Loma kind of realizing, like, I can be a little bit better and more non-committal, because he's realizing, again, this is another adaptation extra, which is really cool, right? Adjusting from the first round, and even the second round, maybe a little bit of this round too, I forget. But basically, when he slips really far outside, all his weight gets like stuck on his right foot, and then David Haney just sticks his arm out, pins his hand to his head, and keeps him stuck in that position so that he can't move his weight back. And then Devin Haney either like moves forward and punches him, or in the first round would like back up and move away. So now what Loma's doing is he's like, okay, I'm not going to go all the way out. I'm going to do the same motion, same general motion, this little slip outside, but I'm not going to get all my weight stuck out here, so you can't just pin me in place. So now Devin's like, shit, I just got to punch at him, which is what Loma wants. Right. Or at least it's better for Loma than that alternative. Again, experimenting with, like we talked about from like first, second, or like earlier rounds, this little short step, probe, again, lean back, looking for that right uppercut. Again, here, because he sees Devin has not leaned back, right? Devin Haney's just kind of neutral, that's why he starts to throw this jab and starts to try to move outside. And this he doesn't like, because now he sees Devin loading up that uppercut, and that's why he starts to back up. And does get hit, but again, kind of like micro adjusts. And again, makes a bit of a mistake here, right? You can see, interestingly enough, I wonder why he does this. I wonder if he does it because his foot's like off the ground. I think maybe because he wasn't expecting Devin to time him this well. He thought he had more of an opening than he did, but Devin Haney's reflexes are just crazy, so he just reacts to this raw and goes to throw this uppercut, pins the hand and throws the uppercut, right? Again, that wide stance serving as a buffer like we talked about. And so his foot's, anyway, so Loma's not ready for this, so his foot's off the ground here, right? Which is kind of cool. But interestingly enough, right, like we talked about before, in contrast to when Loma is prepared, right, his foot's down, set, ready, and then normally he would just take a step back, right? He would like pop this foot down, take a step back, or continue to move up, like pop it and continue to move this way, which he can't do because Devin Haney stepped on his foot. Which is why they tell people don't do that, because then you can hold people in place like this. Again, not trying to shame Devin Haney for that. It worked. And I don't think he was trying to do it in this case. He was just reacting. But, right, basically you can see Loma not necessarily ready for this, which is why he eats this body shot. But he is at least able to kind of like slow down so that he doesn't go full tilt into this shot. And then tries to put himself in the best position he can, even though he's still out of position in a bad way, right? Because he realizes he's about to get hit with this shot. Interestingly enough, I think he was expecting this shot to come out faster, which is funny, right? He was expecting this shot to come out right away. I think that's why he kind of picked his foot up here, because he's expecting Devin to hit him with like a fast, quick shot. Then he's going to put this left foot back down, pop, come up with the left hand, right? But Devin doesn't. He really fucking sits and loads up this shot, which is why you see his foot come up first, because he's expecting the fast shot. Then it doesn't. Then he sees Devin load up and is like, oh, shit. And then he goes to put his foot back down so he can kind of like move back and push down with his left foot to push and roll back to take a little bit of the own feather shot, which he does do. But again, he's trying to stay, making the best of a bad situation, got caught on Devin's insane reaction and is now reacting to that, saying, okay, let's just try to stay relatively close here. And again, try to like parry and throw, which does look like it works too. And again, right, you can see the thought process, like I said. He was expecting, I think, a fast counter to come out here. Then he was going to plant that left foot and pop. And it creates this nice kinetic chain when you do that, where your left foot plants and it shoots and comes straight, all that energy comes straight up through the toe of your left foot, all the way right to the tip of your left hand, because it forms this nice line along the same side of your body and throws this shot right out. And you can see right here, that's why you sleep people do this. They like plant this same side foot real quick, and bam, throw that shot out, because it comes out really fast. And that was the same thing like we talked about before. That Devin Haney actually did that to Loma when he moved his right foot around, planted it, and bam, threw a right hook right around Loma's guard earlier. This is like Loma almost doing the same thing. As soon as he lets that foot come down, bam, throws that left hand. Right, bam, there. And again, looking like, I can't tell if Loma's left hand or his right hand comes up here, but you can tell, right, he's doing something. We'll pinpoint the exact movement to counter a potential like jab, front hand jab or hand control or something from Devin Haney after this shot, right? There you go. It's his right hand. So what he's trying to do, oh, this is so fucking cool, actually. This is also kind of like Wing Chun, which is why I love watching Loma fight, is that Devin Haney has been doing this thing where he'll either use his forearm to brace on Loma's head and push him back, right? Which, like we talked about, that's why Loma's taking this inside angle to mess up that lever so he gets better leverage by touching the tip of Devin's hand instead of running straight, perfect 90-degree angle into middle of Devin's forearm. But what he does here, the other thing that Devin did earlier was he would put his hand like right on Loma's forehead and push back, like stiff arm him or whatever. But you see his hand, Loma's hand will come up and like push this Devin's forearm above Loma's head so that it takes the pressure away, and then he can transition his weight and throw this left hand. Right, so watch. Right hand comes in, he goes for the hand control. Loma's hand like comes up to push it up, and then he actually like stays down a little bit as he reads Devin coming up here, so that he realizes, oh, now Devin's in a spot where he can't hold me in place because I've let Devin just move naturally past me and pushed his hand up out of the way. So now he realizes there's nothing blocking my weight. Bam, I can throw this left hand. Right? And then he also, I wonder if he also does like a little head slot change here or something too, because it looks like Devin's hand not only just like straight up gets moved above his head, but it also moves to Loma's left side. Yeah. So I wonder if it's also Devin moving. Yeah, it's a bit of Devin moving. I think expecting Loma to stay in place, just trying to do the same thing that he was before, where he would pin Loma's hand in place. And then Loma moving to the outside with that punch. And then again, I think Devin, you can tell Devin ultimately, like, right, not trying to take anything away from him, probably definitely landing the cleaner, heavier shots in this fight, knows that he just landed this massive body shot. So he's not expecting, like I said before, I was like, it's fucking incredible that Loma can still punch people after he gets hit with these shots, right? Right after that, plants his foot and just smacks Devin in the face, which tells me that Devin's not expecting that, probably because he just landed that monster body shot. Speaking of people not expecting shots, have you ever watched Roy Jones get knocked out by Antonio Tarver? Spoilers. You know, the fight happened forever ago. And what was the beginning of the end of Roy Jones' career. You can tell he gets hit with that shot because he's not expecting it, because he hits Antonio Tarver with a left hook right before that, and looks like Antonio Tarver looks like he's about to like dip down and move away, and then he doesn't, and Antonio Tarver just throws this like monster overhand shot that just obliterates Roy and literally basically ends the man's career. And again, you see from Devin, right? Little back step, waiting to time coming down. Little back step, waiting to time him. Little back step, waiting to time him. Again, using the forearm to block this jab, which is really nice. Having good like front hand control. And then interestingly, right, sort of disadvantage here. Normally what Loma would try to do after he gets an inside position, or gets a position distance-wise like this after he throws his left-hand shot, is to continue to move outside and throw this left hand, but he can't because Devin's foot is right here blocking him. You can see he's even trying to go for it. He's trying to like move his left foot to get around and then use this right hand over the top to either punch or pin this hand or push this hand, Devin's lead hand, down, so he can continue to either jab over the top or throw another hand over the top, but he can't because Devin's left foot's in the way. So sort of the trade-off, the disadvantage of that inside foot position that we were talking about. That he looks like he's chasing. It's funny too. I don't know if I said this. I did actually watch these rounds, the one we're doing right now, and the bunch of the ones after this, to prep before I did this. But this little inside foot position, I think, is something I actually didn't notice when I did this before. When I looked at this before, there are a couple things. Again, you can see, right, Devin trying to like this little bup timing, trying to line up their timing and shield and block with that front hand and dip. And interestingly, props to Loma, like not getting spooked off the line. Again, I wonder if this is something else they talked about. Kind of reckless too, because he could probably definitely get hit here for sure. Moving in here, and he almost does, but he gets inside. So something else that's cool too, right? Like we talked about one of the weapons for Devin Haney in the beginning, which Loma has, I think, mostly gotten him to stop doing, where Devin has just stopped doing at this point, was that lead left hook. Him coming inside, again, further jams that shot. He gets even further inside that shot, so it's even harder for Devin to hit him with that hook. That's one of the other things this does, which is why when Devin's here, loaded up for what is potentially a left hook, Loma's not really afraid of this, because now where he is, he's like able to get further inside so that this left hook wouldn't really hit, which is why you see him step in here and start to try to throw like a right hook but miss, but it also controls Devin's arm to keep him from transitioning his way in, rotating through and turning that punch over, right, like interrupting the hook before it starts. And again, this is where Loma wants to be, which is why you see Devin push him off here. We're in this little inside range right here. That doesn't quite hit. That maybe hits, which I think is part of what throws off Devin's footstep here. Bang right there. And like interrupts his footsteps, so he has to step back. Again, you see Loma throwing that left uppercut there, but it not really quite landing. Also, again, right, finish all your combos with the jab. That lead right hand also dueling with Devin's there, getting control. Again, this little soft set. With just his feet, but not his head, it looks like. Trying to get a rise out of Devin successfully. So far, a lot of the pattern this round has been Devin kind of setting, or Loma setting, or doing stuff in front of Devin and letting Devin just kind of move forward into space that Loma gives him, and then Loma countering him off that. Right, like here, or trying to, I should say. You can see Devin going for that left hook, but again, or left like uppercut / left hook, but Loma, I guess. I don't know if Loma reads it, or if he's just thinking, I want to get inside, so this just misses, goes right past him. And again, right, Devin trying to slip around him, throw that body shot, and again, right, like we talked about, when they're like lined up right on each other like this, Devin gets that nice forearm position he wants, he can shove off. But Loma trying real hard to not let him just get away with that. Bonk. And again, right, not only, so here's something else cool, not only does Loma changing this left hand to not just be parallel to the ground and push down on Devin's head, not only does that force Devin or not let Devin just like slip down and roll under, right, but it also blocks that shot that just happened, right, that right hook to the body. It also, see this right here, how he immediately like rolls inside and then his left hand goes right on Devin's shoulder. He wants to make sure that Devin can't throw those big, meaty fucking right hands that he's been throwing. And he kind of leaves this shot open here, this like left hook to the head potentially, because I think he almost wants Devin to go for it so he can just slip and roll under it and then come back up. Or maybe he's just being a little lackadaisical, which Devin kind of notices, which is why Devin notices it and takes that shot. Again, right, trying to get into the inside here and press against your opponent's elbow to pin that arm to their body and throwing a shot over the top. Again, Devin going for that nice lever. Interestingly, Loma going for a very kind of bizarre inside-outside approach here, where he's trying to get, now he's trying to like go inside and then get outside Devin, But Devin Haney, wisely realizing that Loma's trying to step around him, holds him. It's kind of funny though, because you see Loma leap up and then just stop in mid movement as Devin just grabs him, right here. Whoop! Nope. Then he just lands all flat-footed awkwardly back to him. But you can see he was trying to leap around Devin's foot once he had that inside foot position to get back outside. So you can see that's kind of the game plan for this round. Again, you can see both guys, right, having adapted from before, not just leaning heavy on each other. They're kind of tapping each other a little bit and then coming away, backing up a little bit. That one's to the back of the head, which is why Harvey Doc says something. I actually don't know if his name is Harvey Doc. I think this is Harvey Doc. I forget. Let's see. But they'll probably, if you go back and watch, they'll probably tell you the name. And interestingly, another replay of this same motion that we saw Loma have success with, allowing Devin to do at the end of the first. I think it was the end of the first round. And we just saw from the last exchange, throws this jab, Devin slips under, tries to come right on top of Loma's front elbow, but he comes all the way up this time, realizing that there's no lead hand control or no head control from Loma. He's not pushing Devin. Devin realizing that Loma is not pushing Devin's head down, and Loma correctly reacting, realizing I've been letting you come up like this whole time, and now you just bit on it super fucking hard and came up straight up. And he's like, guess what, Devin? You're not the only one who can throw uppercuts. Bang, bang. But Devin, reading the read, realizes that Loma's trying to set him up for this and throws this big, meaty left hand, full weight shoulder behind it. Again, the much bigger, heavier shot. And Loma's like, fuck me, what was that? Which is why he doesn't, I think, jump right on top of Devin here. Why he kind of just probes for a half second, a little bit, while he recollects his brain cells that Devin just splattered all over the ground from that ridiculous left hand. Again, though, both those shots landing. 2 shots to 1. Who do you like better? Again, right, you can see Loma's tight little stance here telling you he's about to leap in and attack too. Probing. Again, taking that inside line super hard. Again, inside. Again, more inside. And then this time, just I love this shit. Loma, no shame, just steps right on the dude's foot and punches him in the face. Boom. Steps right on his fucking toes and punches him. Sounds kind of interesting too, right? The thing that's kind of funny about this is that he keeps stepping inside, and then almost on the last step, does not step as much inside. He just steps almost straight forward into Devin to hit this shot. I think because he finally got the line he was looking for, right? He finally got the angle where he could land the shot. So he's like, now I just go straight forward and get all this force into this punch. Devin looked like he was about to react with a roll counter there, which I think he would have if Loma came in, but Loma didn't come in. But again, right? Loma waiting out the timing, waiting out the counter, waiting out the roll counter and the lead hand control before he comes back in now. And again, just rushes at loss of contact. As soon as Devin pulls that arm back, he is pushing right in on top of him. And again, trying to avoid that stiff arm body shot and just pop his feet back. Again, this is a really crazy, cool little duel between the two of them. Devin just trying to use that crazy good left lead hand of his to control Loma, and Loma just using his feet to try to get around it as much as possible. Just darting in and out. So again, right, this front hand comes out, Loma comes back, waits for it, and falls it right back. But this time, right, you see a little pop step, so he's ready for a jab or something. Nothing comes, so he slips, controls, and bang, controls that lead hand, and bang, lines up that body shot. Smooth. And even though I think that doesn't necessarily look like much, you can tell that shot lands solid because it just thuds into Devin Haney. And again, right, one of the things I think people don't really expect or I think judges maybe underrate about Loma, similar to Jorge Linares, and you saw how that went for Linares. Is that shot right there doesn't look that impressive. But that shot right there, the one that he just hit Devin with, that's like the same shot that he knocked Linares out with, except even more weight into it than the one for Linares. The one for that knocked Linares out was like a quick little pop. And he stops George Kambosos with shots like that too, right? So I don't know. Sometimes I think that's one of maybe the pitfalls of judging, right? Like the smaller, lighter guy doesn't get enough credit because his shots don't look like they hit as hard as they do. But I don't know. Similarly, like in NASCAR, sometimes the car crashes that don't look as bad are actually the ones that are the worst to be in. Although that shot does look pretty meaty too. Again, you see him dipping under a left hook potentially from Devin here. And then he comes right back up to push Devin back into the ropes so that Devin can't rope-a-dope him, right? Now because he's pushed, Devin's butt's on the ropes and he's pushing him into the ropes have no give. So now Devin really has nowhere to go, right? So again, that's this little small little wrinkle right here that you can see. And interestingly enough, I didn't notice this before, now Loma has outside foot position too, which is also what he wants. And so he's kind of positioning himself in a way so that his left foot is like in Devin's, right, creates a line through the middle of Devin's body, right halfway between his stance, cuts Devin's stance in half. So that Devin can't just walk, and it's like lined up with his arm. So he basically has like his body as like a spear going right into the middle of Devin's stance to block him in place so that Devin can't just push Loma out of the way or move around him, right? Cool little wrinkle here. And again, right, also taking advantage of this little wrinkle that we saw before where Devin would slip to Devin's left or roll under and then come up on the left, outside Loma, right? Instead of just dipping down and rolling this way and coming into like what would be like this side of Loma's body, like Loma's left side, and then holding him or framing off of him and pushing and swirling out. Now Loma's like getting outside foot position, so he still has control of the outside, but keeping Devin's head outside of like Loma's right arm like this, so that Devin can't just hold him or frame off and push and swivel around, and pushing him back into the ropes right here. So that Devin truly has like can't back up either. He has like nowhere left to run. So again, all these cool little small things you got to watch for. And you can see, too, he's looking to get a lot out of this moment instead of just going all in, because that's something else, right? Like, Loma's best when he takes his time. He doesn't do what he's been doing before, where he just throws, like, 6 shots in a row right here. He just throws this one big body shot, and then, boom, like, doesn't fully throw himself all the way into it and sell all the way out so that he can still, like, control some of his weight and bring some of it back and not just throw it into Devin here, so that he can plant this back foot down and be in a sort of neutral stance so he can duck, move back, or move forward, depending on what he needs to do here, which is why he's able to duck under like this potential left hook counter. Whereas if he throws all his weight in here or tries to keep punching and move forward too much, he can't dodge that counter, which again is that adjustment to Devin Haney's like monster left hook from earlier, right? We saw Loma throw 2 shots. This is also crazy. Oh, didn't even realize this is also an adjustment to that from earlier. Instead of throwing those 2 quick shots and then Devin throwing this monster left hook in time with Loma's second shot, he's like, well, fuck that. If you're gonna time me on my second shot, or you're gonna like hilariously, like that reaction was him throwing 2 shots because Devin Haney timed him on the third one. He's like, well, if you're going to time me on the third one, then I'll throw 2. And then Devin times on the second one, and he's like, well, if you're going to time me on the second one, then I'm going to just throw 1. And you can see, too, right? Like, that's why he's ready for that left hook right there, because he's expecting that that's where it's going to come, because a left hook, like, a couple, like, half second after this, like a low left hook, would come is right when the last left hook came, the timing was. And that's why you can see he's kind of, like, dodging right here, or trying to get ready to dodge. I love this little thing, too, where Devin's, like, bent over and Loma's, like, all above him right now, like, what you gonna do now, little man? And again, pushing him up with his elbow, boom, sets up that beautiful left uppercut right to the face, and that right hook right there. And again, right? Again, taking this big, strong stance, lead foot control on the outside, his foot going in a center line, right, cutting like a line right through the middle of Devin's stance. So when Devin comes off the ropes like this, it's a lot harder for him to push Loma back. And even though he does push him off, which I think is partly because he's going into the ropes here, and he's using the elasticity of the ropes to push forward, and also he's and also he ate that right hook from Loma super hard, so that like pushed him into Loma, and he's using some of that momentum to push him away. Because he's so well planted, instead of just getting blasted away from Devin Haney to like back to the middle of the fucking ring, he's able to plant this foot and control how he moves away, right? So that now he doesn't lose like all this distance immediately. And now he's still really close, or still relatively close, and has his feet mostly set. Again, look how set his feet are compared to Devin's. He's already stopped his backward momentum, is almost in range to punch again, and if he wanted to, could like quick set right here and be down, ready to go before Devin Haney was back to the line and ready. But instead he kind of just takes a moment and just lets Devin Haney like reset. Again, right, you see him aggressively targeting that inside line this round. Also, I missed it, but there's a little left uppercut at the end there, too. Body shot, left, right. There's another left uppercut right there that also lands. And again, I think that's him clocking something that Devin did very early on that I was surprised that Loma didn't time more in like the first or second round. Those little dips that Devin Haney does. Speaking of which, that's him taking that uppercut at the end there. That's him taking advantage of that little tell from Devin right there, of Devin being like, oh, I want to slip down. And Devin was like, oh, you want to slip down, do you? I'll have something for you when you get down there. It's a nice little left uppercut when you slip down like that. So again, this is him also reacting to not just that like immediate bit of information, but also that tell from like way earlier in the fight, where Devin would like slip down and duck down and potentially be able to land like vulnerable to that left uppercut and Loma not throwing it. Again, I wonder if that's something that his corner maybe told him, realizing like, hey, the left uppercut's there, you just didn't throw it earlier in the fight. Like, when he dips like that, hit him, because he's there to be hit. And then, of course, lo and behold, it works. Devin reacting, right, very well, again. But but putting himself very out of position in doing it when Loma gets this inside-footed position advantage. Again, right, he's using this left foot to cut a line right through the middle of Devin's stance, like a spear. And as soon as he gets that foot in line, he's throwing that jab. But, of course, once he sees Devin set like that, he's like, oh, I'm out. And, again, you see Devin have this little, right, like we talked about rhythm and timing and rap. That little set that Devin's foot does right there. Boom. Because he's expecting something from Loma. Or I think he was also maybe expecting Loma to move outside him and to frame off of him. So his weight was actually coming a bit, yeah, like he was shifting this way, expecting Loma to be outside of him, and then he was going to like lean on Loma like he'd done before. So his weight was starting to move this way, and then he realized, oh shit, Loma's not there, I got to stop, and then stopped with his right foot and then moved back. So again, all these small little tidbits, little wrinkles. Again, Loma's happy. You see him doing his happy feet dance. I almost want to watch it again because it's such a meme. But it looks so goofy. And Devin, rightfully so, be like, bro, you better not be falling asleep on me for a minute or I'm going to smack you right. Bonk. He eats a jab for his happy feet dance. He's like, what are you doing fucking happy feet dancing on me? I'm out here trying to win. Don't call me two-time email champion. I'm undisputed right now. Again, realizing Loma kind of brought his hands back a little bit lazily there, too. Realizing he's a little too loose. Interesting, too, to think about what Devin's trying to do here. I think he's maybe ready for, like, I don't know why this looks like a right uppercut, left hook after this situation. But he realizes, like, maybe he's not quite in range. Like, right there, he looks like he's about to load up for a left uppercut. And then goes to control him, but Loma wisely just moves back out of range because he realizes Devin's weight is set and he's ready. Again, Devin lining up his defense with Loma's offense, right? This little elbow flick that we talked about. Although in the first round, we were talking about how it's farther away from his body when he's planning on throwing a left hook. Here you can see it's like very defensive, right? He has it tight to his body, so it blocks a low body jab in case it comes. and then it flicks out like this to deflect anything coming up top to his head so he can slip under it. Ironically, though, again, Loma has really dialed in on this slip out that Devin likes to keep doing. And it's really just, you can see right here, almost literally just fucking jabbing at him just to get him to do this stupid roll under. And then is like, good, roll under, please. Bam! And clocks him with a left hand over the top right after he finishes that roll. Boom. And you can see he's happy. He's like, oh yeah. And again, right, like we talked about before, those biomechanics, as soon as that left foot comes down, throwing that straight left hand. Right here, right, loading up that shot. Boom! And again, realizing he just hit Devin, so he's going to continue to press. Again, waiting for... I wonder if there's like some lazy jab lead hand control or something that comes out from Devin there, and he's looking to just jump right on top of him. Again, realizing that that rhythm kind of just worked. This soft little, like, Devin coming into him, nothing coming back, so then he fires his left hand over the top. Devin coming into him, nothing real pressure. Bam! Throws the left hand immediately. Eats a jab to the face for his troubles. Again, Loma kind of starting to take a little bit more control of the pace, but Devin really trying to keep him off of him here. Interestingly enough, right, you see this sort of interesting dynamic where I think this is Loma, you can't tell because the feet aren't in frame, but Loma being inside of Devin again. Yeah, mostly. And then trying to go outside. So instead of just coming straight in or being in line with Devin and coming straight in and walking into that form, right? Now he's trying to like cut this angle across Devin, which makes it harder for Devin to push him away. Because when Devin pushes out, then Loma just continues to slide down his arm and go around, which is what he's like trying to do right here. But Devin actually still manages to cut him off because his hand like gets around Loma's neck. It like comes across in this weird like almost like swivel jab left hook and like hits Loma and like stuns him a bit. And then he tries to throw this right hook to catch Loma if Loma is still moving on the inside. Like if Loma's still on the inside here, that hook lands like super flush, right? And again, he's like adjusting the shot mid-flight because he's a pro fighter. They do that. But it's to me saying like, again, I think that's maybe what Devin's expecting based on like the fact that this punch lands a little outside. Again, like would have clocked Loma perfectly if Loma was still inside. Loma just like whoop coming right out of that lead head control and wisely staying away from the left hand from Devin there. So again, right, despite the fact that Loma is still doing his stuff, Devin is just like crazy reactions McGee this fight. Just reacting to everything Loma does. As soon as Loma comes in, try to stuff him, throw that right hand over the top, and again, trying to plant that left foot and throw the left hand. But Loma wisely getting his feet down and controlling himself and not just heavily leaning on Devin before, like he kind of was before. Right, he pops right out, gets both his feet under him, and that's why you can see right there, he starts to move again and is able to get away from that shot. So he doesn't just walk forward into that. And now, interestingly, you can see him kind of experimenting. I haven't really talked about their head movement or level changes as much here, but you can see him now kind of re-experimenting with like, okay, now what do you do when I like sort of set but don't change my head position but approach you in this like middle height position of my head, right? But he doesn't really change it abruptly. He just kind of like sets his feet. So again, giving Devin like a different bit of it. Actually, no, he does kind of change his head there a little bit, but he's already really in mid position when he does it. He's like in mid and then just dips a little bit lower. And the response he gets back is looks like Devin Haney comes up from that, but let's see. Here. Now you can see he moves and kind of like rolls back a bit and almost does this, at least the body position motion that he does before when he was going to deflect with this left elbow, right? He would like dip back like he just did and bring this left elbow up to deflect the high jab. You can see Devin still moving closer inside. Again, maybe trying to cut the ring off here. Or maybe trying to cut down Loma's inside angle advantage. Here, interestingly, I think because Loma's very wary that he scored a bunch of shots, he's kind of taking a bit of a breather, slowing down a little bit, not necessarily pressing the action as much, not necessarily trying to continually press that inside angle or get that inside angle like he was before, but also, not doing that because he doesn't want to be predictable. That's how you walk into right hands like you did against Linares. We do the same thing too many times. Interestingly, Devin now doing to Loma what Loma just did to him, taking the inside angle, throwing that lead jab, right? And the funny thing is, even though this is kind of weird, and I guess it works this way because Devin has longer legs, doing the Teofimo, the lean forward, as soon as your foot comes down, move forward with a jab, wide stance, rock back, then rotate through your weight, then step forward again with your back foot, rock back onto it, move your front foot. This looks so much like Teofimo. It's ridiculous right now, actually. But right, as soon as his foot comes down, he gets this inside foot position, this inside angle that he wants. He throws this jab, and then plants right outside of Loma's foot. And then, because that worked really well, he's like, let me try it again. Again, right? Trying to beat Loma to the line, and he does, which is why he hits him. Because Loma's not ready. Maybe realizing a little bit that Loma's trying to take a bit of a breather, trying to get some jabs in, earn those punches back. Hits him with another jab. Again, Loma just getting lazy, maybe a little tired because he's getting a little older. Bonk. And again, right? Bonk. You can see that definitely hits him there, too. Even though Loma's taking a bit of the sting out of it by trying to parry it down. And now, right, Devin not trying to pot shot at him now anymore. Because right after he does this, he realizes Loma's on the inside foot like he wants to be. Right now, you can see Loma's trying to dial up the pressure a little bit more, right? And moving that foot inside aggressively. Still inside aggressively. Right, Devin making that small little step, boop, right there before he throws this to line up that shot a little bit better. And then stepping outside. We're still outside Loma's foot. Now Loma's speeding up his step because he's realizing Devin's getting there first before me. He's beat me to the line the last 4 times. I need to pick up the pace. That's why I see partly, I think that's part of why Devin doesn't jab here, because he doesn't have that angle. One, because Loma's feet are not outside of his own, or his body's not open, but also because Loma's set. He's ready now. That's what Devin can't just jab at him here. Again, now they're getting to the line right at the same time, so they can't just jab at each other. And now, because they've been stepping together on this rhythm this whole time, now Devin kind of reads that. It's been at the same boop, boop, boop the last couple of times. He's like, oh, we're going to get to the line at the same time again. I'm not just going to step there and stand there and do nothing like we did before. I'm going to move forward and try to get outside you. And ironically, not really successful. Despite the fact that was time. Actually, no, he does. He actually hits Loma good swivel jab right there. And then Loma realizing that Devin has stepped way too close to him. Like how far in he is. Right, this is the same kind of penetration Loma gets when he wants to attack. Again, you see that left hand of his come in, getting ready for a straight right from Devin to potentially block that right hand. And as soon as it doesn't come, he's like, ooh, give me cookies. That's what I want. Right, you can see right there, he was ready for that right hand to come, and it doesn't. So he just follows him right back. Again, the set right there ready for it. And then that time, he's really kind of just either jab or interrupt what Devin's doing. I think that was actually supposed to be a jab from Devin. That Loma correctly parries. Right, again, both guys using their front arms as a shield. And And that's the round. Boom. There you go. Hour and a half. Boom. Round 3. In the books. Hope you enjoyed.